Hello and welcome to this introductory explainer video about by design. In the next 15-20 minutes or so, we're going to cover a few subjects. We're going to give a bit of an introduction into the by design brand, what it is and how it works. And we'll talk about the premium markets because it might surprise you just how lucrative they are. We'll also talk about how by design works and how it attacks that market so successfully. And then in terms of looking at whether it's a good fit for you or your business and whether it's a good fit for us as well, we'll also look at some existing license holders of by design and look at their journey as well. So as a brief introduction into the brand in a nutshell or two, what we do is we are everything that you need to run an effective, efficient and successful premium estate agency business, be that for you as an individual growing a team or as a premium department of an existing estate agency business. Quite young, we're established in 2022 and we've since grown throughout the UK. In the map you can see down here in all those copper coloured areas is where we are. Actually that map was produced last week, but it's a little bit out of date already because we've since grown again and also grown internationally, which is really exciting as well. So what we specialise in is, I suppose it's like unique homes is the best way to put it. Typically those range from about 500,000 to £5 million and anything there between. There is no specific price cap or limit as to what those price points might be. It's a question I quite often get asked. More depends on how interesting property is more than anything else. So we're an independently owned and operated business, as are all by design license holders as well across the country. And we're really fortunate that we're made up of some of the very best in the business. We've won awards, broken records for what we do, and the network is an incredibly strong team of license holders around the country. Just a quick introduction to me. I'll keep it very quick. And unfortunately, you've got me twice on screen now. Somehow I'm in the bubble and in the picture down there, so apologies for that. So my background is that I used to run a brand called Fine & Country, which was a premium network of estate agents in about 300 locations around the world. So I've got some experience in growing a brand like this nationally and internationally. And the premium market is something that I'm particularly passionate about. So first and foremost, that comes through in what we do in by design, gearing up agents with everything they need to attack that premium market. But we also run probably the most ridiculous named podcast in the industry called Property Porn Stars, all about the premium property market. And then quite often featured in the industry press for what we do, either as by design or actually sometimes my own articles as well that go in there and get very gratefully published in the industry press as well. Okay, so enough about that. So let's look at just pragmatically why the premium market is so interesting and perhaps why I'm passionate about it. To get right to it and right on the money, the first is financial. The premium market is so much more lucrative than the volume residential market, I would argue. And here's why. So straight off the bat, average fee percentages go up as you deal with more expensive houses. And this isn't just an opinion, this is borne out year after year in the Voice of the Agent survey. What happens is that the average fee for properties across the UK is about 1.1% until you get to properties that are priced £750,000 and above. And then it jumps to 1.4% and goes quite quickly up as you get through the higher price points to 1.7, 1.9, 2.1% and so on. So it becomes exponentially more lucrative because you combine the higher price point with a higher fee percentage, and it makes a huge difference to the bottom line of your business. An average fee for us in by design is about £15,000, but that is an average. We've had single deal transaction fees that have been well in excess of six figures, and maybe that sounds crazy, but it's not made up. I can literally show you and prove that to you as well. So it really is the best part of the market to operate in for firstly, just the financial reasons as well. On average, and I'll show you this in a second as well, 10% of the premium market. So if you had a 10% market share just of that premium market in your area, it's worth about £200,000 on average for any given area, really. So it is very lucrative. And if you combine all that together with the fact that there is less competition, I can't think why you would want to operate in any other part of the market than the premium sector. So here's a quick test for you. So when I say less competition, in your area, think of 10 agents you might compete with in the traditional volume residential agency sector. I bet you could name 10 agencies pretty quickly. Can you name 10 agents that you would compete with in the premium market? A tenner says you can't, because it's just so it's a completely different market. There is so little competition in there, and it can be quite easily disrupted and upended as well. So aside from the pure numbers of it, and we get a little bit more ethereal. So let's talk about service levels. So it is, forgive the cliche, but it is quality over quantity. And that means there are fewer instructions, giving you more time to give those clients a better service, which links into the fee comment that I made earlier as well. Per instruction, clients getting a much better service from you. And these clients expect it too, in fairness. They want their one point of contact, trusted advisor right through the process from market appraisal through to completion. And it means that because you have that time, you can deliver the service that you probably want to deliver those clients. But perhaps if you're in the volume market, you just don't have the time. There is only so many hours in a day that you can dedicate to a vendor, a property, and instruction. And if you have the difference between 15 and 50 of those, makes a huge difference to what you could actually do. And then this is a funny one to say maybe, but from a lifestyle perspective, so, obviously we market the lifestyle of a property that we're dealing with as well. But when I talk about lifestyle, I actually mean it from your point of view as well. The premium market isn't easy. It's not an overnight success. There is no silver bullet, but once you're in it and operating it, it's fantastic because, again, going back to the previous slide about having fewer instructions, that means you have more time. So you're not tied to an office, tied to a routine, morning meetings and any of that sort of stuff. And you have more time for you to do what you want to do as well. To the point where someone who's running a really successful by design operation, I swear every time I call her, she's in the gym. and she's doing unbelievably well. And then the last thing I'll say on this is because a typical vendor for someone in by design is they're professionals, they're entrepreneurs, they're business people, kind of by virtue of the fact that their property is highly priced, they're successful in what they do. They are operating at a slightly different level to the typical volume market. And these conversations are much more business to business compared to business to consumer. So you can get to the point a bit quicker. They're much more matter of fact. It's quite often easier to deal with, sometimes less emotional. And, a market appraisal appointment can quite often be a glass of wine and a chat about what you're going to do rather than a formal pitch, which is good. So to put some numbers on this and meat on the bone, so we do these market reports all the time, and I'd be really happy to do one for you in your area, just let me know. But what we're looking at here, and I'll explain this very quickly to make some sense of all the numbers here. What we're looking at here is Bedfordshire, or basically Bedfordshire, which is, I've chosen it intentionally because it's pretty middle England. It's not prime central London. It's not the middle of nowhere. But let's have a look at the premium market for, say, Bedfordshire. So here we're looking at properties that are over £750,000 and a year's worth of information just on exchanges, because I think that's all that matters. Interpreting all the numbers that you can see here, the market for £750,000 properties, if you had 5% of that market at 1.5% fees, which we've already established is pretty normal, that's just over £150,000 a year worth of exchange commission. So that's only 11 sales in a year. If we could achieve 10% market share of that, again at 1.5% fees, then that's just north of £300,000 worth of commission per year as well. Earlier I said that 10% is worth £200,000 plus. Well, here I was perhaps undercooking that a little bit here. In this case, you can see it's worth over £300,000. So this is, really emphasizes why I think that agents should be more interested than they are in the premium property market. It's just so lucrative. It's probably a bit much to get into now, but what we can do as part of that market research for you is like a full analysis of key performance indicators for all of your competitors in your area as well. So you have full knowledge of what's going on in the market, who's doing well, who's not, and perhaps who's stock to target as you get going. So the problem with the premium market, all that stuff's well and good, but there's the challenge with the premium market comes out as this. And really, I think that you can envisage yourself perhaps when I tell you this as falling into one of two camps. So the first one is let's just say you're established estate agency business at the moment, dealing in that volume market. The more successful that you are in that volume market, actually the harder it becomes for you to compete effectively in the premium market, because you're so well known for doing what you do so well, which is listing and selling the typical average house price properties in your area. So your brand is very hard to translate to the premium market. And that isn't just conjecture, that's not just my point of view. Industry statistician Chris Watkin has analysed, he does this every week actually, a different town or city across the UK. And at the point of asking him, he was at 71 of these sets of analyses across the country. And it was only in one town or city across the UK of these 71 that it analysed was the market leader in the volume residential market. Were they also the leader in the premium market as well? You really need something that is clearly a differentiated brand proposition service offering for those clients for them to buy into it. Otherwise, it comes across as either the wrong brand for their property, or it comes across as, if you'll forgive the slightly strange analogy, the same chocolate bar on a different wrapper. You need something differentiated. Or perhaps you are an individual, either working as in an employed or self-employed role in somebody else's premium estate agency business. And the problem there is that you're effectively on a hamster wheel, and you can only earn as fast as you can run around that hamster wheel. There is no longevity, there is no business plan that comes from the fruits of your effort. It's good while you're earning, but anytime you take your foot off the gas, it all stops. You're not really building a business, it's a job in a different structure and setup. And that's where a buyer design license can change things materially for you, which I will explain. So getting into some of that and what buyer design does then. So first of all, we go straight to the most important people in this equation, your vendors. So our vendor proposition is actually pretty straightforward. It combines three things. Firstly, it's national branding and marketing and advertising for their home, which if it is a premium property, they would typically want something which is, and their property would warrant being put on that national pedestal rather than just fishing in a local pond of buyers. If you combine that national with that very, very local, independent, expert, dedicated individual service they're going to receive from you, that for them is the best of both worlds. If you combine that with a collaborative network in the way that buyer design works, with a high net worth database that's shared between us as well, it's truly a market-beating proposition for premium homes. Coming on to that, I said about this national, it's actually national and international advertising that we do. So I'll explain that in a second. Firstly, to put some context around this, the way we work is on a license basis. So you have an exclusive territory, which we would set out together, which is exclusively yours. And that's important so that you have control over it. It's yours, it's an asset, you can build it, and one day that might be a business that you want to choose to sell into the future. I'll explain how that works in a moment, but having your exclusive territory is really important, and then you can collaborate with all your neighbours in buyer design around the country and around the world who are building the brand in their area, and we get this collaborative combined effect of, just think of for sale boards breeding boards around the country, and more business coming to you as a result of that brand awareness. So on a national level, then we advertise in the places you'd expect, Meta, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, and so on. But we also advertise in the Times, a beautiful video presentation format, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And then internationally, we take all our listings, we translate them into 25 languages, and then we distribute that to just over 90 property portals around the world. So with some strong brand names there, including things you can see on the screen here, like the Wall Street Journal, Mansion Global, and the Figaro. In terms of advertising and marketing, this is where it makes so much sense, and there's a million reasons I can give for this, but to use buyer design as your premium brand rather than try to do it yourself, because everything is already done. So what I mean by that is, first of all, is that you have a beautiful award-winning website ready to go, ready to use. And I say it's said on the screen here, it's stocked with beautiful homes around the country. And that's really important because I spoke to someone who was launching his own premium estate agency business, and one of the hardest things he found was that vendors quite liked him, but then they checked him out and there was one other property on his website. And nobody likes to be first, and they like to see that you are listing and selling similar properties to theirs, which is what we can demonstrate with our website. And all the marketing collateral that you would think of having to make, anything you can think of and more, is already done for you, ready to go, ready to use, personalized. We have a big joint Canva account that everyone has access to, and we're putting new designs and content in there every week. We all collaborate together on a centralized CRM, which has a high net worth database included in it, and it is very marketing centric as the CRM goes. And part of that is in our content. So we put out blogs that alerts us when someone's reading, when someone's looking at properties on our websites, we get alerted to it. And even our website will actually change based on who is looking at it if they're registered in our database as well. So we've got quite an advanced tech strategy for marketing and advertising you. And on that subject is you. Probably the most important part of the equation is you. So I think that personal branding is the most important part of branding and marketing. Second place, and a close second, is your business brand that comes behind that. I don't think that the individual name, as strong as it might be, is enough. You need a compelling business brand beneath that with lots of differentiation and marketing unique selling points to impress vendors. And that's the part which ByDesign helps with in spades. But as well as that, there are people that are like you doing what you're doing across the country. And because we're in a network together, they are all on your side. They're supporting you as you build the brand in your area. They're building it in theirs. So they actively want you to succeed as well. We do lots of monthly coaching training sessions. They can be on best practice in a estate agency, data. They can be on compliance, or even a recent one we had was on a high performance mindset. So it's a nice chance to be together, and also a good chance to continue your learning and development as well. On the note of personal branding, which I just mentioned, so this is what's nice, is where the two things kind of come together. And I've put some examples on screen here, which my fat head is getting in the way of some of. I'll actually just move myself so you can see a bit better. So take this for an example as a for sale board. So you've got ByDesign Homes for Marie Fritz. So Marie runs ByDesign in Northamptonshire. She's got the license for Northamptonshire, and she's actually just expanded into Oxfordshire as well, doing phenomenally well. And what's nice about this is that it's the best of both worlds. She has her name, number, email address, face on the boards, but there's also the consistency in that national picture of the ByDesign brand with it as well. So she is getting the best of both worlds and delivering that as a statement to her customers in the area. Said everything there. The last point to say on this is that she's chosen her name personally, but let's just say you're a established estate agency business, David & Co. Estates, for example. You can have ByDesign Homes from David & Co., for example. So to talk about self-employed agents, so firstly is that we often get confused as being like a brokerage when we aren't exactly that in the traditional sense that you would think. The way we operate is on a license basis, so you can grow your business within the network. And then if you wanted to, then you can grow your team of self-employed agents underneath you as well. And genuinely, I've never seen a more lucrative way of making money in estate agency than running a premium estate agency business and then doing so with your team of self-employed agents working alongside you. So how this manifests itself is a few bits, but to give you an example, in that Bedfordshire location that we looked at before, using that as an example, let's just say you had 3 self-employed agents that were working with you there. You charge them £300 a month and you're on a 70-30 split with them. Then that amounts to you as another £150,000 a year worth of income to you without you listing and selling properties yourself. Everything you do there is then on top of that as well. And even more so that what you end up with by doing this is a business which has significant asset value. Estate agency on its own as it is today isn't worth very much as a business to go and buy. But if you can effectively convert your business, convert your mindset into this, then by having a team of self-employed agents underneath you, your business becomes effectively very valuable because it's something that doesn't need your personal involvement in as a business owner on a day-to-day basis. So whether you saw it as a long-term plan for potentially retirement, that you'd have the agents that are working around you while you took a step back, or as an eventual exit and a realization of that asset value, this is something which is really exciting. And we have lots of functions and facilities in-house to assist and enable you to grow that team of self-employed agents should you want to go down that route, but you don't have to. So in terms of costs, so we work a bit differently to most other businesses, I suppose, in the sector. So we work on a license basis. So it's a low flat fixed license fee. We charge between £1,500 and £2,500 a month. And there is no commission split, revenue share, anything funny going on in the background there. You keep 100% of your commission. And that's good, firstly, because it's very lucrative for you, first and foremost. And second of all, it's nice for the relationship that fosters, I suppose. So to put it in really crude terms, we don't have our nose in your trough, and that makes for such a better business relationship that I wouldn't really want to do it any other way. And there are no hidden costs. It's always something people ask as well, but there's no sort of hidden clauses or whatever out to get you. So that's the way it works. If the concern that you might have was around that monthly cost, and that was the only thing that was holding you back, then just talk to us, because we have different mechanisms to sort of ease that burden from you from day one. So have a conversation with us about that if that's something that you are concerned about. Okay, so the last thing to show you here is some case studies of people that have gone before, which you may or may not relate to. So firstly is a lady that we were looking at on the for sale board earlier. So Marie, she was in a self-employed role working for somebody else's premium national estate agency business. She knew that was as far as she was ever going to go and how far it was ever going to get. There was never going to be another rung up the ladder. And the same thing, she could only earn as fast and as hard as she could work. And there was no long-term plan for her aside from that. So since taking a by-design license for Northamptonshire, her hometown, and then, like I said, moving into Oxfordshire, she's recruited a team of self-employed agents underneath her. And she's building a business which in the fullness of time won't need her in it day to day, and also is a very valuable business should she choose to exit into the future. She's young, but she's still looking at her long-term plan in business, as we all should do, really. Yeah. We'll take Adam. Adam was working for a premium estate agency in Lincolnshire. He was employed rather than self-employed, but again, that was really as far as it's ever going to go. And he was never really going to have any ownership or stake in that business. And that was why launching his own business through By Design was the best route for him. He has his exclusive territory now that he's building and developing very successfully across Lincolnshire, listing and selling some of the most beautiful houses in the county, actually. Simon was different again. Simon was working in it was a self-employed role, but it was for a brand that was in the volume market, and he knew that wasn't where he wanted to be and where he wanted to operate. So we had a discussion, and he has subsequently launched By Design into Warwickshire, and because it's gone so well as well, he's expanded into Sutton Coldfield and Worcestershire as well. Simon's broken records selling some amazing properties for some amazing values, properties in excess of £5 million at very strong fee levels, as we all do across the brand as well, and again growing his team of self-employed agents with him. And lastly is James, who was effectively running the business for somebody, actually across a premium brand and a core business brand as well, a sort of volume brand. But again, that was as far as it was going to go. And since launching By Design just over a year ago at the time of recording, he's listed and sold some incredible properties across South Devon where he is. He's taken on his first self-employed agent he's working with, and the second is underway as well, along with further expansion plans into the region, which is really exciting. So in terms of next steps then, try to keep this relatively short and sweet. But if that sounds intriguing enough that on a 50-50 basis you think, I'd probably like to learn a little bit more about that, then the next step would be to book in a Zoom call with myself. What we'll do is we'll first of all look at the premium market together, so we can do a bit of an analysis on that for you and show you the results, show you what the market's worth and who your competitors are, where their weaknesses are as well. And explain a bit about the next steps, some more of the detail that would just be too much to go into on a relatively short video like this, and what it would look like as far as a launch process would be if that was what you wanted to do. We also have a full sort of information pack that you could download and read through as well if you wanted to, and I'll link that around this video. Or lastly is something that I say to anyone who's considering joining anyway, is speak to someone who's in the network at the moment and get their first-hand feedback, because it's all good and well speaking to me, but I always encourage people to do is speak to someone who's in the network already to get it first-hand from them. I think it's important in both directions. And that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it. Hope it's been interesting, and I hope to hear from you, and I will speak to you hopefully very soon. Thank you.